Hey there! Thanks for clicking on this video. We're about to take a deep dive into a topic that's been on everyone's mind lately: how Donald Trump's presidency reshaped the relationship between Canada and the United States. This isn't just a story of politics, it's a tale of personal clashes, economic battles, and how it affected not just leaders, but ordinary citizens like you and me. Stick with me through this because by the end, you'll understand why this relationship matters and what it means for our future. Let's start by setting the scene. Imagine a world where the closest neighbor isn't just an ally, but a strategic partner. For Canada and the US, this relationship is more than just a handshake. It's about trade, economics, security, and a shared vision for the future. But when Donald Trump entered the picture, things changed. Suddenly, tariffs weren't just numbers on a page, they were a weapon in a global battle. Trump's renegotiation of NAFTA wasn't just about terms, it was about power and control. And for Canada, it was a wake-up call. Trump's policies pushed Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland into a corner. The question wasn't just how to negotiate better deals, it was how to protect Canadian interests while keeping the peace. Trudeau had to balance between his domestic audience and international pressures. Every speech, every public statement became a tightrope walk, and Freeland, Canada's foreign minister, had to be the calm in the storm. She knew that the way she handled Trump's demands could shape Canada's future for decades. But it wasn't just about policy. The way Trump treated Trudeau was more personal than diplomatic. Tweets, insults, and public digs all became the backdrop for a relationship that was meant to be one of the closest in the world. Trudeau and Freeland weren't just defending Canadian interests, they were defending their country's honor. So, how did Trudeau respond to this new world order? His strategy was to stay calm, keep the focus on Canada's strengths, and not get dragged into Trump's media circus. Every meeting with Trump wasn't just a negotiation, it was an attempt to keep the peace. Trudeau's approach was to be measured, to find common ground even when it seemed impossible. But it wasn't easy. The public didn't always understand his quiet diplomacy. Critics at home saw it as weakness, while Trump's supporters saw it as capitulation. But Trudeau knew something many didn't: this wasn't just about now. It was about the long game, how Canada would be positioned in a post-Trump world. Freeland, on the other hand, was more aggressive. She understood the power of the pen and the microphone. Every speech was a message not just to Trump but to Canadians, to show that their government was standing firm. Her background as a journalist gave her the tools to fight Trump's narrative head-on, even when it seemed like the odds were stacked against her. As we move deeper into our story, let's focus on the key figure who was Canada's front line during Trump's presidency: Chrystia Freeland. If Trudeau was the diplomat at the helm, then Freeland was the voice on the front lines. Her role was crucial, not just as Canada's foreign minister, but as the bridge between two worlds. Freeland came to this role with a background in journalism and a reputation for toughness. She wasn't easily swayed by Trump's tactics. In fact, she was the one who often called out the inconsistencies in Trump's policies publicly. Her strategy was straightforward: use the power of communication to keep Canadians informed and to counteract the noise from the White House. One of Freeland's most significant moments came when Trump threatened to impose tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. This wasn't just about trade, it was a test of Canada's resolve. Freeland didn't back down. She knew that Canada's position was strong. Trading heavily with the US meant that any tariffs could harm American industries as much as Canadian ones. In her speeches and public statements, Freeland was deliberate in using straightforward language, avoiding the political jargon that can distance leaders from their people. She made sure Canadians knew that every decision made was for their benefit, and that standing up to Trump wasn't just about protecting jobs, it was about sovereignty. But the battle wasn't just with Trump. Freeland also had to manage internal divisions within the Canadian government. Trudeau's calm, reasoned approach didn't always mesh with Freeland's fiery determination. There were times when her statements seemed more aggressive than what Trudeau wanted. Yet, she knew that sometimes the only way to make an impact was to be bold. Her role was to keep the focus on the long-term relationship with the US, despite the short-term tensions. By using open loops, posing questions that weren't immediately answered, she kept Canadians engaged. Would Canada really be able to negotiate better terms? Could Freeland stand up to Trump and still maintain a friendship with the US? These were questions that she answered not just with words, but with actions. As Freeland's role became clearer, so did the divisions within the Canadian government. Trudeau and Freeland weren't always on the same page. Trudeau was cautious, focusing on the optics of every decision, while Freeland was more focused on impact. This created a unique dynamic: two leaders with different approaches to handling the same situation. The Canadian public was watching closely. Some saw Trudeau's measured approach as weakness, while others thought Freeland's more outspoken stance was what Canada needed. This wasn't just about policy anymore, it was about perception. Could Canadians trust their leaders to keep the country safe from Trump's unpredictable behavior? In this section, we look at the tensions and the behind-the-scenes strategy sessions that went on in Ottawa. Trudeau had to balance international relations with domestic priorities, and Freeland had to balance the immediate response with the long-term vision for Canada. It was a complex tightrope walk, and one that wasn't always successful. The media played a crucial role here, amplifying the divisions and adding fuel to the fire. Every press conference, every statement from Trump was analyzed for clues. What did it mean for Canada? Trudeau and Freeland knew they couldn't control the narrative completely, but they could control how they responded. Every word mattered. For Freeland, the challenge was in how to keep the relationship with the US stable while dealing with Trump's unpredictable behavior. She knew that every tweet, every negotiation, was being watched closely both in the US and in Canada. This was more than just a political battle, it was a test of character and resilience.